Και τώρα ήρθε η μεγάλη στιγμή να φωνάξουμε τον κύριο Атертон. Θέλω ένα πολύ δυνατό χειροκρότημα να το νιώσει έτσι λίγα. Πίτερ Атертон.
Okay. Kalispera σας. That's it. I'm afraid that is the only Greek you will hear from me tonight. I have the help of a beautiful translator sitting down here in front of me. You can say it. Firstly, I would like to say how delighted I am to be here in Athens, because this is my first visit to mainland Greece. Right. I flew in to Athens last night, and within an hour I was sitting in a beautiful restaurant looking at the floodlit Acropolis. It was magic, and the food wasn't bad either. When I joined this company 10 years ago, in the UK, no one had heard about aloe vera. Now it is considered to be a buzzword. It is added to lots of different products. Clairol have added it to a shampoo, Revlon have put it in a lipstick, Gillette have put it in a male aftershave product. It has been put in tissues to wipe everywhere, babies' nappies, and even ladies' stockings. But I thought you might be interested to see the very latest product that aloe vera has been added to. I've brought some. Have you seen these? These are latex medical examination gloves, and they are lined with aloe vera to protect the wearer from getting dermatitis. When I saw these first, I had an idea. I thought, what is the biggest selling latex product in the world? Do you know? Yes? This means yes, that means no. I thought this was a tremendous idea that would make me a fortune if I suggested aloe vera lined condoms. It's good? But my friend, when I told him about my idea, said, no, that's a very bad idea. I said, why? He said, think about it. If a man were to wear this thing regularly or for a long time, he would soon find that that member of his body looked a lot younger than the rest of it. I think they got it. By the way, I would like this evening to be informative, but it is also to be fun. If I say anything slightly funny, you're allowed to laugh. I think before I do my presentation, I would like to tell you my story so you understand why I'm standing here tonight. I have to ask you to go back in time 10 years. At that time, I was an extremely busy and very stressed family doctor. I used to see patients at 5 minutes a time, and I usually saw more than 60 people every day. I was not very happy. And then one day, it was a February morning, a very miserable, cold British day at about 8 o'clock in the morning. I was in the beginning of my consulting when a patient who I knew also as a friend came in and sat down and smiled at me and said, Peter, how are you? This was unusual because I was supposed to say that to them. And she smiled at me. That's also unusual. But she said, as she held out this tube, she said, "This cream has just cured my son's eczema in 3 weeks." She said, "How long have you been trying to do this? 3 years? You have used steroid creams and moisturizing creams, and you haven't achieved anything." I can tell you, I did not need that. I thought I was a good doctor. And when she told me what was in this, I could not believe it. She said that there was some juice from some funny kind of cactus mixed with some sticky stuff that they got from beehives. I was a conventional doctor. I could not accept that this stuff had any merit at all. I did not want to know about it. I couldn't pronounce the word. I'd never heard of Alое, propolis. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't care. Before leaving, she gave me some literature, which was from this company, Forever Living Products, but not as sophisticated as we have got today. When she left the room, I looked for the little round file to drop this in. I had no interest in this at all. That was fine because I forgot about it entirely until 6 weeks after this event, I was at a party. I had been there about 1 hour and I had talked to a lot of people, so I was standing on my own, as I am now, with my drink in my hand, looking at the door. The door opened and a late arrival came into the room. Guess who? I turned around and I went to talk to anybody that would talk to me. Because, oh dear. She came straight up to me and she said, "Peter, what did you think of that cream?" I said, she said, "You have not used it, have you?" I was very embarrassed. But she said, "The literature is interesting, isn't it?" Oh dear. I did not know what to say, but she made me promise that on the following day I would go and read the literature at least. I hadn't got the courage to tell her I might have thrown it away. But luckily, I searched among the papers on my desk and I found it. And the following day, over my coffee break, I started to read about this funny cactus called aloe vera. What surprised me to begin with was that this plant had been helping mankind for some 4,000 years, but I did not know anything about it. Hippocrates used aloe vera, but I had not heard of it. Dioscorides used aloe vera, very famous Greek physician, but I had never heard of it. I learned also that Alexander the Great in 333 BC fought a battle just to get aloe to treat his wounded soldiers. This fascinated me. Why had I not been taught about this at medical school? I also learned that the beautiful Egyptian queens, Cleopatra and Nefertiti, used it as part of their beauty regime. But I had never heard of this at all. And I learned also that around the world, this plant has many nicknames. The most important is the burn plant. It's also called the medicine plant, the wand of heaven, heaven's blessing, the dietary plant, the potted physician, the miracle plant. Could give you lots of names, but the point I'm trying to make is that these are very powerful, emotive names about this plant from all over the world. But what really impressed me was this thing called the burn plant. and I went and I bought some product. And these are the products that I bought initially. And you can see that I had to buy this one, didn't I? I had to get the propolis cream, but I also bought a tub of the gel. I bought the Aloe First spray and a tube of the jelly. Because you might ask, why did I buy this? This is a first aid spray. And the reason is I live at home with a lady who loves to cook. And we have a rather splendid oven that is extremely hot. We call it in England an Aga oven. They're very expensive, but they cook in a very special way, and that's why we have it. My wife should wear a special glove, a big padded glove, when she uses this hot oven. It's a long one, but it's never in the kitchen when we want it. I think some of you are smiling, you may understand. It's never where it should be. So she tends not to put it on and uses more flimsy material to get very hot dishes out of the oven. But she often forgets one thing, that the inside of the oven door is very, very hot. And she frequently burns herself on the back of her hand. When I say frequently, I mean frequently. Almost daily. Yeah? Promise. And now the back of her hand is covered in hundreds of little scars. These are Aga burn scars. I should have brought her to show you. It's very interesting. So I thought I would do an experiment. I said to her, when you next burn yourself, don't put your hand under the coal tap. I want you to use this. Put some of this on the burn. She looked at it but was not very enthusiastic about this clinical experiment. But I was very lucky that evening. I heard a little cry from the kitchen whilst dinner was being prepared. So I rushed in and I grabbed hold of her hand and pulled it away from the tap. I said, no, 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 let's put some of this stuff on it. And then I said, now tell me, what's that like? She looked at the hand, she looked back at me and said nothing. I said, tell me please, what's that like? She said, that's remarkable. The pain has just disappeared, just like that. Wow, I said, have some. I saturated her hand in Aloe First. And then, during dinner, and later on over the next few days, I changed to this product and rubbed it into the burn 3 times a day. What we found was that the burn healed very fast. It healed without pain, but what is remarkable for me, it healed without a scar. Now, I did not know 10 years ago that this is quite normal for aloe vera healing. My wife now does not bother looking for the glove, she just burns herself. She never wears it. So I saw the burn plant at work and I started to develop my belief system. I thought, okay, if this topical cream works, I better start to drink it as well. The lady who sold me this said that I must drink it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. I must shake it well and keep it in the refrigerator. So on this particular morning, I came down, I took it out of the refrigerator, I poured about a glassful and drank it all in one. I went to the telephone and I rang this lady who had sold me this drink. I said, I'm very sorry to disturb you so early in the morning, but that drink you sold me is bad. It's off. She said, why do you say that? I said, it's the taste. Not good. It's not good. She said, no, that's okay. That's normal. I said, do you mean to say I have to drink this every day? Yes, she said, if you want it to do you some good. I wasn't sure myself at that point. But I carried on for about 2 weeks. And then one day, I said to my wife, I'm going to stop taking this drink. I can understand the cream is good, but this drink is doing nothing for me at all. She said, oh, yes, it is. No. I said, what's it done? She said, you're much better in bed now. No, not that.
Όχι αυτό που φαντάζεστε.
If only. No, she said, you don't snore as much.
Απλά δεν...
She said, you don't snore, I get a better night's sleep, so you keep taking it. So I said, okay, on that basis. I had been taking it for about 6 weeks when I went into my consulting rooms and I was confronted by my rather large senior receptionist. She met me in the corridor with her arms folded. She used to be an officer in the Navy, a big girl. She said, the girls have asked me to ask you a question. I employed about 20 women there. I thought, oh gosh, they want a pay rise or something. I said, okay, what is it the girls want to know? She said, they want to know what you're on. I said, I'm on nothing. They said, you must be, because you don't shout at them as much as you used to. You smile a lot more, and even the patients are beginning to like you now. Anyway, I managed to realize that the only thing I had changed was drinking aloe vera. Do you know, I thought there was probably a drug in here, like heroin or morphine, and legal. If I was such a nice guy now, I should carry on taking it, which I did. But the real test was to prescribe it to my patients, because I had learned a lot more by then. I could tell you lots of stories, but I'm just going to tell you one. This is about a little girl called Alison who had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. I had looked after her since she was about that high. At the time I am recalling, she was in her early 20s. This is a very serious condition that tends to make the sufferer slightly deformed. Alison had hands like this, and she walked very slowly with a lot of pain. And one day she came to see me with her mother. And when the door had shut, they both started to weep, to cry. The mother stopped crying first, and she said, "Doctor, you must help Alison. She is at the end of her tether. She's in so much pain, she is taking lots of pills, and she's getting tummy ache." This worried me because she was on simple painkillers, but also taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These drugs kill 5,000 people in the UK every year through the side effects, because they often cause stomach ulcers which bleed or perforate and cause death. But I did not know how to help Alison. I had tried everything. Simple painkillers, non-steroidals, steroids by injection or by tablet. She'd had gold injections. She'd had physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, everything I could think of. So I just said off the top of my head, there may be a wacky cactus juice that could help you. Do you want to try it? Mother said, we will try anything. So I arranged that Alison would take 120 milliliters of this gel every day. And she would write down for me the number of tablets that she took every day and the level of her pain and stiffness every day. I wanted this to be an objective assessment. I was to see her in 2 weeks' time. Now, because Alison walked so slowly, when I pressed the button on my desk, it took a long time for her to reach my consulting room. She came in after 2 weeks and I helped her sit down and I said to her, "How are you?" She said, "I'm no worse, but unfortunately I'm no better." I was disappointed. But I said to her, "I have been reading about herbal medicine and sometimes it takes a little while for these herbs to work. Would you please take it for another 2 weeks?" And she said yes, but it was actually 3 more weeks before she came back. I saw her name on the computer, pressed the button on my desk. I got on writing some notes to wait for her. But the door opened more quickly than I expected, and I saw before me a girl who had platinum blonde hair, who was normally very pale. She had rosy cheeks. For the first time I'd seen her like that. And she came in something like this. Now that is running for Alison. She sat down. She sat down and she leant across to me and she said, "Doctor, what's in that stuff?" I said, "I don't know." I hadn't got a clue, but I said, "Carry on taking it." And I saw something that I witnessed that was incredible. She got progressively better over the next 3 months. She reduced her regular medication by half and went back to work. I can promise you that she still takes aloe vera to this day and has, of course, as you would imagine, joined this company. But the point I'm making was that at this time I got the opportunity to go to Oxford University to do 2 years research. I had previously met a very broad-minded professor of dermatology who invited me to work in his department because I wanted to study the medicinal effects of aloe vera. At the end of my 2 years, I did not write a paper. I wrote this book, now in its 2nd edition. And if you look inside the book, on the 2nd page, says, "To Alison, a patient who changed my practice." Thank you. I owe so much to that young lady because she not only changed my philosophy of medicine, she changed my philosophy of life. I wouldn't be here if it were not for her. Because she gave me the belief that I needed. I can tell you all here in the audience that you must believe in the products, you must believe in the company, and you must believe in network marketing as a successful form of business, or you will not go very far. So that is my story. I'm sorry it's taken a little while to tell you, but I hope that the rest of what I now show you is in perspective. Because I'd now like to show you some slides about the basic attributes of aloe vera, and then we'll have a short break for maybe 5 minutes before I show you some clinical pictures. Is that? Can you see the picture at the back of the room okay? Yeah? Let us look first at the plant itself. this is actually not a cactus, it is a succulent. It is a member of the lily family. It is related to onions, garlic, asparagus, and there are 350 species in the world, of which 5 only have medicinal qualities. This is the most powerful. This is the true aloe or aloe vera, called Aloe barbadensis miller. It has spread from Africa to all parts of the world where it can survive, which are normally warm climates where there is no frost, because its main enemy is frost. It can reproduce itself in 2 different ways. One is sexual through seeds from its flowers, and the other is not sexual. It can grow little suckers and plants from the base of the mother, and these are genetically the same as the mother plant. This is a cross-section of the leaf if you cut it, and you can see on the top there is the green rind. Underneath that is the sap of the plant at this level here, and my grandmother used to buy this substance in the pharmacy at home. We call it in the UK bitter aloes, and she used to paint it on my fingernails to stop me biting my nails. Awful and bitter. Their nipples. Why would they do that? No idea? I'll tell you. They used to have to wean the baby off the breast very quickly when the new baby arrived. Underneath this we have a very slimy layer which has a very important sugar in it, which I will come back to later. And inside is the gel or water storage organ with the vitamins and minerals. This shows you a slide of hand filleting to remove the gel, which is there, and the slimy mucilage is dripping down here. So we need to know really what is in it. This group of substances forms 1 to 1.5% only of the plant. There are 19 of the 20 amino acids a human body needs, antioxidant vitamins A, C and E plus the B group, many different minerals, but there is no selenium in aloe vera. These things come from the sap, and then there are 2 types of sugars. Simple sugars and long chain sugars. It is the long chain sugar in aloe vera that affects our immune system. So we need to take it in when it is undamaged. That is why we take the drink on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. So it passes quickly through into the bowel where special cells can take it in whole without breaking it down. So if you take it on an empty stomach, the polysaccharide in this bottle is the same as in this plant here and is in your bloodstream in about 20 minutes. It balances the immune system. And that's why I think I felt so much better after 6 weeks of taking it. This is a painkiller and anti-inflammatory like aspirin. There are 2 types of enzymes, digestive enzymes and anti-inflammatory enzymes. So people who drink aloe vera absorb food better. This gives topical products the penetrability into the skin, but does nothing in the drink. These are soapy substances, so they kill bugs, they kill bacteria, and the fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. These things work as a team together, and also, albeit small in number, I believe they have a huge effect. Now, where does it work? I believe it only works in 2 areas. This is an anatomical term called epithelium, which is a surface or membrane. The skin is the biggest epithelium that we have, but it changes when it lines the mouth, the throat, the bowel, it lines the lungs. And the other area, I said, is the immune system, which is designed to protect us from attack from viruses and bacteria and cancer cells. So you may ask, how does it work? I believe it provides these essential micronutrients that we are missing in our diet. It reduces infection. It has a natural anti-inflammatory action. That's why it helped Alison. And all these things together promote cell growth, which is what healing is all about. Now, if you want to get benefit from aloe vera for yourself, your family, your friends, you must drink it at a reasonable amount every day. I tell my medical colleagues this, and they are very disbelieving, very skeptical. As you can see, they're not a happy bunch. When I tell them that it tastes awful, they're even more unimpressed. But you have to take it, despite the taste. Talk to you now for the next half an hour on my favorite subject in medicine, which is the skin. Some of the slides that you will see are clinical slides and may be disturbing to you. I will quite understand if you leave the room or you close your eyes. Usually, if I have time, I put a little paper bag on every seat, as they do in aircraft, just in case. This is a cross-section of the skin, and I will show you which part we are interested in. It is this bit, the epidermis. Just notice here how thick the cells are and how thin they are when they move up to the surface. This process takes 21 to 28 days in normal skin. So when you give someone some gel, you must make them promise to take it for at least 1 month to see the effect on the surface of the skin. So let's look at some basic statistics. We know that skin disease in the community is very common. There are 1 in 3 of us in this room who suffer from some form of skin problem, but we don't normally go to the doctor. This is a slide from a skin department in a local hospital. The iceberg shows the huge number of people who are not getting treatment under the water here. 10% reach the general practitioner or family doctor. Only 2% see the specialist, the dermatologist. So you can see that the specialists see very little skin disease, only the rare ones and the very severe common ones. I'm now going to show you the clinical slides, and this is where I started with juvenile eczema. These children have very dry skin. It gets inflamed in the folds of the skin, like behind the knees here. The children scratch it a lot and often infect it. So why was this cream so good? Firstly, it contains a very good moisturizer in the form of lanolin to treat the dry skin. It has a natural anti-inflammatory which helps the soreness and the itching. And if it gets infected, we have the antibiotic from the beehive, the propolis. I use it regularly in my practice now. This is acne of the common variety, caused by hormonal change and a skin bacterium. This skin disease in Europe is changing because it now affects older and older people in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s. General advice has to be to take plenty of water, get plenty of sleep, keep the scalp clean, and then I ask them to drink the gel and put on the jelly. The jelly is good because it is a drying product, and these people have a greasy skin. I'm not trying to make people into doctors or nurses, but I just want to show you the power of aloe vera and the variety of problems that we can help with. This is the more mature form of acne called rosacea. We see here a man with a very red face. And if he were to put on just the jelly, he would reduce the redness and be more comfortable. I have had a lot of success with this condition. So we don't know what causes this, but it is some chemical reaction, I think. This is a very common condition. It is caused by a skin fungus that lives between the toes, where it is very moist. It needs water to survive. When I was at Oxford, I tested all these fungi in the laboratory against our jelly, and it killed them all. So here we have yet another example of the variety of problems we can address. This condition is a viral condition. We call it shingles or herpes zoster. And I can tell you that I have only treated 5 cases of this condition with aloe vera. You have to get these people very early in the disease, because if you've had a herpes on your lip, you will know it goes through stages. First there is pain, then a small fluid-filled rash appears on the area, then you get this pustule here, finally the scab. It then goes back to normal after several weeks, but some unfortunate people are left with a permanent pain in the region. We call this post-herpetic neuralgia. All I can say is none of my 5 people developed post-herpetic neuralgia. But this is too small a series to draw any real conclusion. This is psoriasis. It can affect many different parts of the body and is not really a skin disease. It is a general disease with a skin manifestation. You can see it in the folds of the body, and we call it flexural. We can see it in the scalp. This psoriasis does not make anybody bald. It's very itchy. So the man rubs it and rubs it and rubs it, and he rubs off the hair. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't stay in the scalp, it descends onto the face. You can see it coming onto the forehead here. But worse than that, it can come right down onto the face. You can understand that this man would feel very antisocial, and I have known people lose their jobs with this condition because other ignorant people think they are infectious. You can get it in the fingernails, shown by these little tiny pits. This is a diagnostic sign of psoriasis. It is the only condition that produces this. This is very painful. On the soles of the feet or in the palm of the hand. This is all psoriasis. But worse than that, it can affect the joints and produce an arthritis. I'm showing you these slides because it is reckoned that up to 6% of the population has some form of psoriasis. And for some people, only some, if you use aloe vera, the psoriasis will disappear. I don't understand why a particular person will have a good reaction and another person will not. But I suspect it is affecting a type of psoriasis if we need some research to find out which type. We have one piece of good evidence from a clinical trial done in Sweden, which had amazing results. By the end of this trial, aloe vera extract cream had cured 25 out of 30 patients, which is 83%. The placebo was only 6.6%. I have corresponded with this man many times, but he will not give me the precise ingredients of his aloe vera remedy. I think he wishes to make money out of it, but I feel he owes it to the world to tell them. So we need some more research to be done. Okay, that's given you a good selection of problems we can help with. But now I'm going to show you some slides from my own patients that I looked after at Oxford. That is a very infected leg ulcer down here. This lady had had this large leg ulcer for 15 years. When she came to see me, she burst into tears like Alison. She said, "Please, please help me. I cannot stand this anymore." What she couldn't stand was not the ulcer, it was the smell. Terrible. Because it was infected with a special bug called Pseudomonas. Now, when she was first seen, she was seen by my professor who invited me to Oxford. He said to her, "I cannot do any more for you. You better go down the corridor and see the aloe man." I was the end of the line, because normally this kind of problem at Oxford was referred to a different department, the Department of Entomology, insects. Yes? Because they used a special kind of treatment. They put maggots in the wound. These little creatures are very efficient because they only eat the diseased, rotting tissue. The trouble is they tickle a bit. But it is a very good biodegradable dressing because after a few days they just fly away. No, they don't really. You have to change them and put a hungry lot in there. But I used aloe vera by mouth. I used jelly in the wound every day. I brought her into the hospital every day for dressings. And we worked very hard with this lady. It took a long time. But the result was encouraging. Look how clean that is. I was able to take her into the operating theatre with a plastic surgeon and a vascular surgeon to repair the damaged vessel and put a skin graft on. So that was a success at the end. This ulcer is the same, but only 4 years old in a diabetic lady. She was brought to see me by her husband, who was a huge man, and he was very angry. He threatened me. He nearly picked me up by my tie, and he said, "You better help my wife." I said, "I'll try." So I didn't make any promises, but I suggested the same regime. He said, "I can't bring her in every day, it's too expensive. Teach me how to do it, I will do it at home." So I did, and I saw this lady once more just before I left the department. It was well on the way to being healed. I can promise you that this went on to completely heal. She reduced her drugs, her insulin for her diabetes and her painkillers. She stopped the painkillers and reduced the insulin by half. Her husband was so grateful that he nearly crushed me to death with his thanks. He joined the business in my team. He now takes his wife, called Mabel, around and says, "Mabel, take your stocking off, show them the result." She is indeed a walking testimonial. And she even commented that her hairdresser had said how nice her hair was now. She said, "Could this be aloe vera too?" Oh yes. I said, look at your nails. Aren't they stronger? I'll show you now some pictures of a patient who arrived in the department after I had left. This is a lupus ulcer. And she came saying to the nurse, I want the aloe vera treatment, please. And the nurse said, I'm sorry, you cannot have it. Dr. Atherton has gone. We will treat it and we will heal your ulcer. We will give you a special type of skin graft. We take normal skin from the thigh and just put little pieces into the wound. And these grow together and they heal over the wound. But it didn't work, and so she was sent for a skin graft to a plastic surgeon, and that didn't work, so she came back to the dermatology department. It's worse now, so she begged for the aloe vera treatment, and the nurse said, okay, I've got some material left. Dr. Atherton left me with some. I know what to do. We will do it. And a few weeks later, I got a very excited telephone call at home. She said, Peter, you must come in and see this. Take a photograph of it. Nice, huh? Pretty? No scar. Very little scar. I'll show you my last slide, ladies and gentlemen, which is the best case I have ever done. But to do this kind of work and achieve these results when you're working with people's legs and limbs requires that they take a huge amount of aloe vera and they have a certain amount of faith that they're going to get the result. And it's quite amazing. You're supposed to laugh at that. Right, I promised the managing director I would finish before 9:15. It's 10 past. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much indeed.